हरि ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गाये नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। भवानी शंकरौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणो याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धा स्वान्तस्तमीश्वरम्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शङ्करं परमानन्दं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं यतीश्वरं भाष्यभ्रान्तिहरं वन्दे शुद्धज्ञानैकबोधकम्। ओम नमः शिवाय 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 ओम नमः शिवाय। नमः पार्वती पतये हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम हरि ओम। We'll begin with the Shanti mantra. Om आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक् प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्मोपनिषदम् Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Ma Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastva Nirakaranam Me Astu Tadatmani Nirateyo Upanishatsu Dharmaha Te Mai Santu Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. We shall chant the first mantra of the 8th section, 6th chapter, Chandogya Upanishad. Uddalako harunihi shvetaketum putram uvacha swapnantam me somya vijanihiti yatra etat purushah swapiti nama sata somya tada sampanno bhavati swam apito bhavati tasmat enagam swapiti iti achakshate swagam hi apito bhavati. Hari Om. So we are seeing this most fascinating Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, the 6th chapter. Here the teacher, who is father of Shvetaketu, Uddalaka Muni, reveals the highest knowledge to his son. So he, in the beginning, gave example of how when we know a lump of clay, then all that is made up of clay becomes known. Thereafter, the teacher pointed out to this world which we experience having different forms, different names, and different activities. The teacher said that this world was only Sat in the beginning. Before it manifested in these various names and forms, it was existing as Sat, means as existence itself. It was not expressing in any form, any name. But now it is expressing in variety of forms, having variety of names. So even now the world is Sat, but it is also indicated with various other names and forms. Just as we talk about ornaments, so that before the ornaments were made, they were only gold. And then from that gold, all the ornaments are made. So they are not only known as gold, because even after making the ornament, they remain gold, but they are also named as bangles, necklace, rings, etc. So this world has come from that Sat. It exists in Sat and again merges back into Sat to be born again. So the entire process of creation was indicated, that how from that Sat the Teja was born, from that Teja Apa was born, it is water, and from that Apa Anna, the earth was born, and how the after the process of Trivrit Karanam, all the worlds, all the devatas, the plants, trees, animal, birds, and finally human beings are born, and how our body and our senses and our mind, they are all products of the food which we eat, the water or juice which we drink, the fire or ghee and oil which we eat. So the food which we eat gets converted into our body and also our mind. The subtlest aspect of the food nourishes our mind and makes our mind. The subtlest aspect of water nourishes the pranas, and the subtlest aspect of fire nourishes the karmendriyas, our speech. So in this way, the mind is annamaya, prana is apomaya, and vak is tejomaya. So after giving example to make this more clear, the teacher gives example of how curd, when churned, gets divided into three portions: the buttermilk, the butter, and the ghee. In the same way, the food which we eat get divided into three portions. The water which we eat divides into three portions. The fire which we eat divides into three portions. And when the Shvetaketu could not comprehend how from food the mind is created, the teacher told him to fast for 15 days. And then Shvetaketu could comprehend that the mind, which is made up of the 16 facets, is the product of food, and without food it cannot sustain, and with food it gains the strength and the power to sustain. So in this way, the portion of Trivrit Karanam was discussed in detail. And now in this 8th khanda, the teacher reveals the identity of the jiva in deep sleep. See, it was indicated that the entire world is expression of that Sat Brahma alone. But this is just a theoretical understanding of that Brahma. That will not give us moksha. We have to directly realize that Brahma. So we can understand, we logically, rationally could understand this world is expression of that Sat Brahma alone. But how to directly realize that Sat Brahma? So in order to make this extremely clear, the teacher reveals the secret of deep sleep in this mantra that hey this Shvetaketu, you understand your own state of sleep. See, in the waking we experience ourselves. In the dream also we experience ourselves. So since the entire world is expression of that Brahma alone, and Brahma alone is expressing as all the jivas in all the bodies. So Brahma is present in this body also. So, how to recognize that Brahma in this body? That Brahma is experienced as I am. In the waking, we experience that Brahma as I am. But our experience of that Brahma in the waking is also accompanied with the experience of our body, our mind, our senses. So the experience of Brahma in the waking is like experiencing only the reflection of that Brahma through the mind, through the intellect. We experience ourselves in the deep, in the dream also. In the dream, we experience ourselves along with our mind. But we have to understand ourselves as we are, without the upadhis of the body, the mind. And that experience of ourselves as we are, without the conditionings of the body, the mind, the senses, the pranas, is that Brahma alone within this personality. So that experience of myself, free from all upadhis, happens naturally when I go into deep sleep. So deep sleep is a most fascinating, most wonderful experience which Ishvara has given us, by which we get a glimpse of our own nature. We get convinced of the truth which is revealed in the Upanishads. The Upanishads talk about that Brahma, but it becomes convincing when we contemplate on the nature of that Brahma as existing in deep sleep, free of all upadhis. See, for example, if I have to understand space, then somebody shows me this pot and says that this is space, because the space is there in this pot. The space is there everywhere, but it is present in this pot also. But now we are experiencing that space along with the pot. So when we shift our attention from the pot, we can experience the space as it is. Similarly, the teacher had pointed out that Brahma existing in this world as Sat, and that same Brahma is present in this body also, in our mind, in our senses. Because our mind, our body, our senses, everything is expression of that Brahma. But with the distraction of the body, mind, intellect, we fail to comprehend that Brahma without any upadhis. But the experience of that Brahma without upadhis happen in deep sleep. So the deep sleep experience is a fantastic, most fascinating, wonderful experience which gives us that conviction that yes, I am Brahma. So it was indicated that Sat Brahma alone enters the Devatas, means it enters the fire, the water, the earth as jiva. And then it further created the different bodies So the Sat Brahma alone has entered in all the bodies as jiva. Just as we see the what you call, just as the space, from space, not only all the pots ultimately are created, because from space only air gets created, from air fire, from fire water, from water earth, and from that earth we make the pots. So space is not only expressing as all the pots, but space also enters all the pots as pot space. In the same way that Brahma alone is expressing as all the bodies, and Brahma alone is expressing as all the jivas. So the experience, what I have as I am, is the experience of my own self, is the experience of that Brahma alone, is experienced through thoughts. The experience of I am is the experience of Brahma through thoughts, through the covering of a thought. It is like the reflection, the sun, when it is reflected in waters, we see the reflection. The reflection is nothing but the sun, but as seen through the waters. Similarly, I am is that Brahma alone, but as seen through the thoughts. So I experience that Brahma in the waking as I am, and identifying, functioning through the body, through the mind, through the senses, I gain the experience of this world in the waking. Then the senses get tired and they get withdrawn into the mind. Our karmendriyas as well as our jnanendriyas get withdrawn into the mind. And we no longer experience the outer world. But the mind continues to function. And the mind continues to express whatever samskars are there in it. So the samskars or the vasanas of the mind which are expressed is seen by us as dream. So whatever we see in our dream is the expression of the mind alone, the antakarana. The body of the dream, the world of the dream, the senses of the dream, the pranas of the dream are all projected by the mind. And I see my dream. After some time, the mind also gets tired and it gets withdrawn into the pranas. The Shastras say that even when we are asleep, the pranas, they continue functioning. They don't go to sleep. The pranas keep the body alive. So the mind, the intellect gets withdrawn into the pranas, means the mind, intellect, chitta, the antakarana goes to sleep in the pranas. So what happens to me? Nothing happens to me. I am awake. I, as Brahma, am not affected by the avasthas of the mind. Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti are the avasthas of the mind. They are not the avasthas of the Atma. But what happens to my presence in the mind, the intellect as a reflection? Since the mind and intellect are absorbed in the pranas, my reflection also is not there. So there is no sense of I in the body, in the mind, when we are asleep. And I remain as that Sat Brahma in deep sleep. I remain as my own Swarupa. So that is what is revealed here in this mantra. The teacher, he says, Uddalako haruni shvetaketum putram vacha swapnantam me somya vijanihi iti. So the teacher tells Uddalaka Muni, the teacher, tells his son Shvetaketu, ki he Somya, you understand Swapnantam. Swapnantam means the middle of Swapna or the essence of Swapna, which is Sushupti. The essence of Swapna is Sushupti. The Tattva of Swapna. Shankaracharya writes, कि स्वप्न इति दर्शन वृत्तेः. Swapna means darshana vritti, means wherein we see the world projected by the mind. Swapnasya akhyatasya madhyam. So the madhya of this swapna, swapnantam, is called swapnantam. It is sushuptam iti etat. It is sushupti avastha. अथवा स्वप्नांतम स्वप्न सतत्वम इत्यर्थः. Swapnantam means the tattva of swapna, which is sushupti, the essence of swapna, which is sushupti avastha. Shankaracharya writes further, कि तत्र अपि अर्थात सुषुप्तम एव भवति स्वम अपितो भवति इति वचनात्. He says that either way, the meaning of Swapnantam means Sushupti only, because the term Swam Apito Bhavati is used in the mantra, means we attain ourself. And Shankaracharya writes, कि नहीं अन्यत्र सुषुप्तात् स्वम अपितिम जीवस्य इच्छन्ति ब्रह्मविदः. That all enlightened person, they consider only Sushupta Avastha where Jiva becomes one with his Swarupa. We don't become one with our Swarupa in Jagrat, in Swapna, but we become one with our Swarupa in Sushupti. So, nahi anyatra Sushuptat Swam Apitim. So, since it is, that term is used, that phrase is used, Swam Apiti, that the Jiva attains himself. So, this is the Sushupti Avastha only. Sushupti means dreamless sleep. Shankaracharya writes further in his commentary, कि तत्र हि आदर्शापनयने पुरुष प्रतिबिंब आदर्शगतो यथा स्वम एव पुरुषम अपितो भवति इति एवं मन आदि उपरमे चैतन्य प्रतिबिंब रूपेण जीवेन आत्मना मनसि प्रविष्टा नाम रूप व्याकरणाय परा देवता स स्वम एव आत्मानं प्रतिपद्यते जीव रूपतां मन आख्यान हित्वा. Shankaracharya says that just like we enter the mirror, when we look into the mirror, it is as though we have entered the mirror. Like we are driving, we look into the mirror to see what is happening behind. Otherwise, normally we cannot see what is happening behind. We don't know what is the traffic condition behind. But when I look into the rear view mirror, I can see what is happening behind. So how can I see what is happening behind? I can see by entering the mirror. I enter the mirror and as a reflection, and with the help of that reflection, I see what is happening behind. In the same way that Brahma enters the mind, and with the help of the mind, help of the intellect, it comprehends the world, it interacts with the world in the waking as well as in dream. But in deep sleep, the mind gets withdrawn, therefore the reflection also gets withdrawn. It becomes one with me. So yata swam eva purusham apito bhavati evam mana adi uparame chaitanya pratibimba rupena jivena atmana manasi pravishta. So just as when the mind gets withdrawn into the pranas, that Brahma who had entered that mind as jiva also gets withdrawn and becomes one with that paradevata. That paradevata is that Brahma, it becomes one with Brahma. So paradevata sa swam eva atmanam pratipadyate jiva rupatam mana akhyam hitva. So giving up the jiva rupa, that jiva becomes one with its own supreme nature, that is Brahma. So ataha sushupta eva swapnanta shabdavacha iti avagamyate. Therefore the word swapnantam in this mantra indicates sushupti avastha only. Also, Shankaracharya ji says that we experience the joys and sorrows in Jagrat as well as in Swapna avastha. In Jagrat, continuously we interact with this world through the mind, through the senses, through our body, and we experience sukha and dukkha. Yatra tu suptaha swapnam pashyati tat swapnam darshanam sukha dukkha sanyuktam iti punya punya karyam. Even in swapna avastha, we experience sukha and dukkha, which is the effect of punya and papa. And punya and papa is experienced because of avidya. So punya apunya yoho cha avidya kama upashtabhe naiva sukha dukkha tad darshana karyarambhakatvam upapadyate. So sukha dukkha in Jagrat and Swapna is there because of avidya only. Because of ignorance, we identify with our body, mind. Because of ignorance, there is adhyas in Jagrat and Swapna, and we experience sukha dukkha. Sukha dukkha is the result of adhyas, and adhyas is a result of avidya. And avidya is not knowing myself as Brahma. So in our buddhi, there is an ignorance. In our buddhi, there is absence of knowledge that I am Brahma. So avidya is an absence of knowledge. Jnana abhava. Shankaracharya says jnana abhava. And the result of this jnana abhava is samshaya jnanam or viparita jnanam. Because of this absence of knowledge, we get doubtful knowledge or totally opposite knowledge. For example, when we have the absence of the knowledge of the rope, we wonder what it is, that is called doubtful knowledge, or we get a wrong knowledge that it is a snake. So all this is caused by avidya only, which is absence of right knowledge. So this absence of right knowledge, where is this absence? In the buddhi. And where does this adhyasa happen? In the buddhi only. Therefore, Shankaracharya defines adhyasa as atasmin tad buddhihi. Having a wrong notion in the buddhi is called adhyas. So adhyas is a faulty understanding. Adhyas has got nothing to do with the world outside. The world is not adhyas. Our faulty understanding is called adhyas. So due to this adhyas, there is experience of joy and sorrows in the waking as well as in the dream. But in deep sleep, what happens? In deep sleep, there is neither joy nor sorrow, because in deep sleep there is no adhyas and there is no avidya. In deep sleep, the mind, intellect is not functioning. So the mind and intellect are withdrawn into the pranas. And when the mind, intellect gets withdrawn into the pranas, I remain as that Sat Brahma. No reflection of mine is there in the mind, intellect. There is no experience of myself as a limited jiva. So I remain as Sat Brahma. In that Sat Brahma, there is no avidya. Avidya is an absence. So I remain as Sat Brahma in deep sleep. I remain, that actually when we say deep sleep, the mind, intellect goes to sleep. I, that Brahma, that Shuddha Chaitanya, never sleeps. There is no sleep for the Shuddha Chaitanya. In the Upanishad it is said that it doesn't go to sleep. It is always there. So what we talk about sleep is the mind, intellect has gone to sleep. It is like, again, to give that example of the mirror. When I look into the mirror, I see the reflection. When I keep the mirror aside, then there is no reflection in the mirror. But even when, let us say I am in a room and I am looking into the mirror, the room is bright and brilliant, and I look into the mirror and see my image in the mirror. But suppose the room becomes dark, totally gets covered in darkness, then even though I am present, even though the mirror is present, there is no reflection. My reflection is not there in the mirror because it gets covered in darkness. Similarly, the mind in deep sleep gets withdrawn and as though gets covered in tamas, and there is no reflection of I am in that mind, but I continue to exist as that Sat Brahma. And in deep sleep, there is no joy, there is no sorrow, because there is no papa, there is no punya, because there is no adhyasa, because there is no avidya in deep sleep. So all this is revealed here to Shvetaketu, the teacher who began his teaching by saying Sadeva Soumya Idamagra Asit, that before this world came into existence, it was Sat alone. It culminated the teaching by pointing out to Yuddhalaka, to Shvetaketu, that you are that Sat. You remain as Sat in deep sleep. You are that Sat. While talking about that Sat, Sadeva Soumya Idamagra Asit, Shankaracharya ji had used the same example of deep sleep. In the Bhashya on that mantra, the first mantra of the second section, when talking about Sadeva Soumya Idamagra Asit, Shankaracharya ji had given the example of this Sushupti Avastha only. He says that Nahi Prag Utpattehe Namavat Rupavat Vedam iti Grahitum Shakyam Vastu Sushupta Kala Iva. That in that Sat, when everything remains as Sat, it is not recognized in any other way. When the world remains as Sat, it is not recognized in any other way, just like in deep sleep. And when we wake up from this deep sleep, yata sushuptat uttitaha satvamatram avagacchati sushupte sanmatrameva kevalam vastu iti tatha prag utpattehi iti abhiprayah. Just as when we wake up from deep sleep, if we have to think about the deep sleep, what was I in deep sleep? The only thing I can say about it is that I existed. But how I existed, I cannot say anything. The only thing I can say is I existed. Similarly, the only thing we can say about this world before creation is that it existed as Sat. Shankaracharya ji also gives this thing that in the world, when a person is asleep, then we use the term swapiti, he is sleeping. What really we mean by that is that he has become one with himself. He has reached his swarupa. We also have experience in this world that when a person is awake and is feeling lot of sorrow and pain, having great grief, such a person, when he goes to sleep, he is seen to be sleeping peacefully, without any distraction, without any disturbance. So in the world also, people say that, oh, he is sleeping peacefully now. Let him sleep. He is having a lot of grief, but now he has gained that peace, so let him sleep. He has reached his own swarupa. Similarly, when we go to sleep, we attain our swarupa. Shankaracharya ji also, he gives an example he quotes a mantra from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He said, Tad yatha sheno va suparno va viparipatya shrantaha. Just like a bird which is caught in a trap and is tied with a rope. It tries to escape by flying away, but then it could not break that rope and fly away. So after getting tired, that bird again comes back and rests at the very place where it is tied. Similarly, the jiva roams around in this world. In the Jagrat Avastha, we roam around trying to gain some joy, some pleasure, some peace in wealth, in position, in names and fames. We roam around. And when we get totally exhausted, even in our dream, when we get exhausted, we come and become one with our own Swarupa in deep sleep. Because that is our home, that is what we really are. We are all Sat Brahma only. What we experience in our waking and what we experience in our dream as ourself is a false experience of myself. I consider myself as a human being, I consider myself as a man or a woman, is a false understanding about myself. Because everyone experiences oneself as separated from the body. In deep sleep, we are totally separated from our body and we exist. It is like a person who removes his dress and hangs that dress on a hanger and sits on the chair. He doesn't feel that I am hanging on that hanger. He knows that I am different from the dress. Similarly, when we are in deep sleep, we as though hang our body, our mind on a hanger, and we become one with our own Swarupa. But as soon as we wake up, means as soon as the mind wakes up, we again identify with our mind, our body, and start thinking ourselves to be a human being, to be a man, to be woman, to be Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And we continue to seek pleasures in this world, experiencing joys and sorrows, which is a false understanding. It is all due to false understanding of our own self. So, having revealed this beautiful knowledge, the teacher now gives the example of that bird only in the next mantra to further make us understand that my real Swarup is that Sat Brahma alone. So let us chant mantra number 2. Sa yatha shakunihi sutrena prabadhaha disham disham patitva anyatra ayatanam alabdhva bandhanam eva upashrayata evameva khalu somya tanmano disham disham patitva anyatra ayatanam alabdhva pranam eva upashrayate pranavandhanam hi somya mana iti. Again. Sayata shakunihi sutrena prabaddaha disham disham patitva anyatra ayatanam alabdhva bandhanam eva upashrayata evameva खलु सौम्य तन्मनो दिशं दिशं पतित्वा अन्यत्र आयतनम अलब्ध्वा प्राणमेव उपश्रयते प्राणबंधनम हि सौम्य मन इति. It's a beautiful example. स यथा शकुनिः सूत्रेण प्रबद्धः. Like the hunters who catch these birds, a mighty bird who can fly freely in the sky is caught, and they tie the leg of that bird with a rope, and that tie the rope to some pole or something, and the bird is very restless. The bird doesn't want to remain bound. It's a long rope, so the bird tries to fly away. But however much it tries, it cannot break that rope, and it just remains within the limit of the rope. But it never gives up trying, so it keeps flying to escape. And after some time, it gets so tired that the bird finds no other place than to again come back to the spot where it is tied and just take rest there. Sayata Shakunihi, Shakuni means a bird. Sutrena Prabaddaha, tied with a sutra, thread, a rope. Disham Disham Patitva, it flies in different directions. Anyatra Ayatanam Alabdva, but not finding any place of rest, not finding any place where it can just go away from this bondage. Bandhanam eva upashrayata, it comes back to the place where it is bound. Evam eva khalu somya, in the same way he somya. Tan manaha, this mind, here this mind means this jiva who is expressing through the mind. So I, that Brahma, my reflection is there in the mind, and I express and I experience myself as I am in the mind. I experience myself, my own presence in the mind through the thoughts. It's the most amazing, most fascinating experience which we have of our own presence in the mind through thoughts. It's like the sun which is experienced in the waters. So when we look at the reflection of the sun in the waters, the reflection also appears so bright, so brilliant, so fascinating. But it is not the actual sun, but it is just the expression of the sun as a reflection. Similarly, that Brahma expresses as I am in the mind, in the antakarana. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi Ji also in his very famous shloka, he says, what does he say? Hridaya kuhara madhe kevalam brahma matram yahamaham iti sakshat atma rupena bhati hridhi vishamanasa swam chinvatam pavan chalanarodhat atmanishto bhavatvam. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi Ji, in his very beautiful shloka, which he had composed himself, he says, कि हृदय कुहर मध्ये, in the cave of our heart, means in the antakarana. Antakarana means where our mana, buddhi, chitta is there. That is antakarana. In that antakarana, hridaya kuhara madhe, kevalam brahma, that keval brahma, that one brahma, that brahma which is satyam jnanam anantam, that one brahma, that kevalam brahma is expressing in the antakarana. And how is he expressing? Aham, aham, aham iti. Hridaya kuhara madhe kevalam brahma matram aham, aham iti sakshat atma rupena bhati. It expresses as aham, aham, as our own self, as I am. So the experience of I am, which we have very clearly in the waking, and we have it little vaguely in dream, but not in deep sleep, that is that Atma alone, that Shuddha Brahma alone who is expressing as I am in the thoughts. Aham aham iti sakshat Atma rupena bhati. So through that thought we have to reach the essence. Ridhi vishamanasa swam majjada chinvatava. Pavana chalana rodhat atmanishto bhavatvam. Enter your own antakarana through pranayam, through chintanam, through meditation, and recognize that Shuddha Atma, free from all thoughts, and gain abidance in that Shuddha Atma. See, for example, we look into the mirror in the many shops and all, you have so many mirrors are there, and you have gone to buy something and you look into the mirror. And in the mirror, you see your friend. In the mirror, you see your friend, reflection of your friend. Then what do? You want to meet your friend. What do? Do you go and meet the mirror? No. You just take a about turn and look behind. And there you see your friend actually and meet your friend. Similarly, when I experience I am in the mind, it is the experience of myself only, but in the mirror of the mind. We have to transcend that mirror. That mirror means look beyond that mirror and look at ourselves as we are, free from the mirror, free from all thoughts. Even the thought I am is not there in my own supreme Surupa, in that Sat Brahma who I really am. In that Sat Brahma, even the thought I am is not there. It cannot reach. And that is what I really am. When I wake up from deep sleep, that reflection of that Brahma alone is named as I am. It is a name given to Brahma, to my own Swarupa. I am is a name given to my own Swarupa. But instead of identifying with the name, know yourself as you are. Just as when we say water, water is just a name. But that object called water is totally different from that name. Means it is indicated by that name. Similarly, I am is just a name which indicates myself, my own Swarupa. So in the waking, in the dream, I roam around in this world seeking happiness, seeking joy, seeking peace. But nowhere I find that peace. But after getting tired, after struggling, when the mind goes to sleep, I experience peace and happiness because I become one with my own self. That way I am one with myself. There is no distraction of the mind, no distraction of the buddhi. So bandhanam eva upashrayata evam eva khalu soumya. In the same way, hey soumya, tan mano disham patitva, this jiva roaming around here and there, trying to seek joy and not finding that joy anywhere. Anyatra ayatanam alabdva pranam eva upashrayate. It falls back into its own swarupa. The own swarupa, our own swarupa in this mantra is indicated as prana. Prana means not the pancha prana. Prana here is that supreme Brahma, which is in the Upanishad also it is indicated as pranasya prana. Pranasya pranam. So pranam eva upashrayate. Prana bandhanam hi soumya manaha. Because this prana, this mana means jiva, is prana bandhanam, is bound to that. Prana means the Brahma. So I am connected to Brahma. Means the reflection is connected, just as the reflection is connected to that object, like the reflection of the sun is connected to the sun. Similarly, the reflection, my reflection is connected to me only. So in deep sleep, what I experience as myself is my real nature, which I have to comprehend while awake. More about this we will see in our class on Monday. So till then, you take care, be happy, safe, peaceful, healthy, do your work, do your sadhana. Listen to the pravachan again. Share it with your friends and relatives. Contemplate on what you have heard. Read Bhagwan Shankaracharya's commentary. And we meet again on Monday. Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Jaya Jaya Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram. Bole Siyava Ramchandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.